Living with a disability can indeed present challenges in a world that often falls short of recognizing and supporting the unique gifts of every individual. Yet, it is in the face of these challenges that greatness often emerges. That human spirit, touched by God's grace, has the power to overcome obstacles, redefine possibilities, and transform adversity into opportunities. Remember, your worth is not determined by society's standards or limitations, but by the infinite love of God who has created you in his image and likeness. In the eyes of our Creator, you are precious, you are unique, and irreplaceable. I want to remind those persons living with disabilities, know that your life is a testament to the power of perseverance and faith. You are not defined by what you lack, but by light and hope you bring to those around you. Your struggles, tough, though difficult, are opportunities to shine as beacon of inspiration, calling us all to gather to greater compassion and understanding. I want to invite all of us to remember always that those with disabilities are our brothers and sisters, and they too are to be treated with respect, with dignity, with courage, and with love. With this, I want to wish all of us, because some ways, some of us, all of us, we have some form of disability. We only need to look deep and to find what our disability is. So I want to wish all of you a happy International Day of Disability, and to encourage all of us in the midst of everything to respect and treat each other with love, dignity, and to treat them as children of God. Thank you.
It is with great joy and honor that I welcome you today to our celebration of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities here in St. Lucia. This day is observed worldwide on December 3rd as a reminder of the importance of inclusion, equality, and accessibility for all individuals regardless of their abilities. Today, we celebrate our persons with disabilities or living with disabilities. We come together as a community united by a shared commitment to breaking down barriers and creating a society where everyone can participate fully with dignity and respect. This day is not only about recognizing the challenges faced by persons with disabilities, but also about celebrating their achievements, their resilience, and their potential. Hence, persons with disabilities are at the core of today's event, from performances during the ceremony to displays of their creativity and their talents during the showcase. As we reflect on this year's theme, amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future, let us be reminded that every person has the right to live and thrive in an environment that supports their aspirations and dreams. It is our collective responsibility as government, organizations, and citizens to continue fostering spaces that embrace diversity and ensure that no one is left behind. As I am sure everyone here today knows someone living with a disability. Therefore, let us take this moment to engage, listen, and learn. Together, we have the power to build a St. Lucia that is not just accessible, but truly inclusive and empowering for all of its people. Thank you for being here and for your continued support in making our society a better, more inclusive place for everyone. Let us celebrate the strength, talent, and contributions of persons with disabilities as we work towards a society where equality and accessibility are a reality for all. In conclusion, I would like to thank the organizers, the various persons who have supported this event today, from the performers, participants, and the team at the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities for their hard work and for ensuring that this event is a success today. I hope that you enjoy the proceedings, and once again, let me welcome you to this event and wish you a happy International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you.
History of any society, any people, is extremely important, and I'm sure Father Albert and other clergy people here will agree. Were it not for history, we would not have the Holy Scriptures. When it comes to people with disabilities in the Caribbean, yes indeed, there is a rich history. We do not have time to cover it all, so I will try just to zero in some of the salient things that happened as it relates to St. Lucia. However, the first seed was sown in the English-speaking Caribbean by a man from Guyana. His name was James Alves. He traversed the Caribbean by sailboats. His mission was to start services for people living with blindness and vision impairment. The first island which responded positively was Trinidad and Tobago. And the first service was started in Trinidad on the 18th of May, 1914. It is known today as Founders Day. St. Lucia had to wait quite a bit later than that. Thanks to the Women Association of St. Lucia, 2 boys were sent to school in Trinidad. One came back in the early 60s, and it was him which was one of the pioneers for education for people with blindness and vision impairment in St. Lucia. The Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind intervened and encouraged the St. Lucia government at the time to start the St. Lucia School and Workshop for the Blind. And Mr. Stephen Kennedy Edmund was the gentleman that came back to serve his country. And Miss Eldra Lancico, the late Eldra Lancico, was charged with that responsibility. A committee was formed which was called the St. Lucia Committee for the Welfare of the Blind, and it was given the responsibility of operating the school and workshop. It was this committee which was transformed to the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, inaugurated in 1972, and is governed under the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association Act No. 9 of 1972, slightly revised in 2018. It was followed by a number of others, namely the St. Lucia Society for the Deaf, the St. Lucia Association for the Mentally Retarded. They all started somewhere around the 70s and early 80s, and each of these agencies were focusing within their own silos. The International Year of the Child in 1979 provided the opportunity where the 3 agencies got together and had a massive public education drive to try to educate St. Lucians about the disability factor. At the end of IYC, it went back same old, same old. So when the IYDP International Year for Persons with Disabilities in 1981 came, we were determined to make a change. Yours truly was given the responsibility of heading that movement to ensure the good spirit of IYDP was continued. To ensure this happened, the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association staged a walk around the island in 5 days. The participants were blind, vision impaired, and volunteers, sighted volunteers, also included volunteers from outside of St. Lucia, like from the US Peace Corps and others. The aim was to challenge St. Lucian to come face to face with the disability factor. We succeeded. It opened the way for the formation of the National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities, which was launched on September 21 in 1981. The St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association provided how it housed NCPD for the first few years of existence until it was able to acquire its own quarters. The NCPD, the aim was to ensuring that while you had the parent agencies, housing castries, at the community level, this ability problem will be tackled together. So a network of district councils were formed right around the island to ensure that we were continuing with the inclusive agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, toward the end of the 80s into the 90s, we recognized that there was nothing addressing the needs of older citizens with disabilities. There was an organization called Help Age St. Lucia. So the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association formed a network of Club 60s around the island, and in the middle 90s amalgamated with Help Age St. Lucia and the National Council of and for Persons with National Council of and for Older Persons was born. Elvina Phillips Ravino, who was the president of the Help Age St. Lucia, was the first president of the council. This was intended to narrow the generation gap. In our vision, we saw that a country cannot progress if it's not able to unify the wisdom of the older and the vibrancy and strength of its young. So we sought to bridge that gap. Club 60, we thought, was the answer to that. The Club 60s included not just older people, but also younger ones. And people were being trained to understand and appreciate the aging process. You do not just get up today and you are old. You are aging from conception. Ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the education, I know that the esteemed gentleman will be speaking later about that, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But all I can say is that in the early 80s, St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association decided that the children must be educated within the least restrictive environment. The position paper was, to that effect, was written by the late Joyce Swanson, Mrs. Joyce Swanson. And the Ministry of Education accepted the call, and mainstream education began. The first sets of children was mainstreamed at the Anglican school. I remember speaking to Lion Keith Weeks, who was the principal, and his response was, "Tony, I know you are blind, but now I see you mad." because you're saying that we can educate blind children in the regular system. But you say it can be done, we will give it a try. And so it did. Today, children, blind, vision impaired are mainstreamed around the island. In respect to eye health, again, St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association sound the trumpet. And that because with the help of the Caribbean Council for the Blind and Vision Impaired, we were in the habit of training ophthalmologists across the Caribbean. But all of them, most of them, would also have their own private practice. However, this first paper on real blindness prevention and eye health was presented in Jamaica by Dr. St. Catherine, who was the chief medical officer at the time. And this led the way because that in the 90s, a study which was commissioned by Help the World See concluded that most people could not afford what obtains in eye health. So that opens the way for the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, with the help of the Caribbean Council for the Blind, to establish Eye Care St. Lucia. Leading up to that, the Ministry of Health and the SLBWA signed an MOU spelling out the responsibilities of both partners in respect to eye health. And today, Eye Care St. Lucia is here. To support the mainstream program, the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, with the help of West Virginia University, put in a case find in the school system and back it up with a program called Kids in Sight. To date, hundreds of children's eyesight has been restored, or at least the problem minimized because of this effort. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about inclusivity. We are saying that inclusion must be done all the way. From our standpoint, from the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association standpoint and its derived network, inclusion must happen at both ends. Okay? So that is why we have been relentless in pushing this inclusive agenda. The efforts, we realize that for it to succeed, there must be a conducive legislative environment. So then, back in the late 80s and the 90s, going up into the 2000s, real effort was made, which helped we were part of the move which encouraged the development of the UNCRPD, which you have heard a lot about, which was ratified recently in St. Lucia. And we also campaigned for a policy on a national policy on disabilities. The first draft was drafted by the consultant Ezra Jean-Baptiste. And as I say so, I must also recognize the significant work of the ILO, the International Labour Organization, with the network of ministries of labor. A lot was done, and that one is hoping with the new drive that all of these works will be actualized and enacted in 2025. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they ask you to give history, but you are limited by time. Are they serious about really getting the history? The history is not history if it is not impacting current, and current is not current if it fails to impact the future. So there must be that link. And as you listen to the various presentations, you will see that link. The St. Lucia is not the tale. From all levels, St. Lucia have played its part. We mentioned Caribbean Council for the Blind. We should also mention the Caribbean Association on Mental Retardation. There was a unit in St. Lucia called the East Caribbean Unit on Mental Retardation, which was housed at Donata School. Catherine Robert Poole and many others. The St. Lucia Society for the Deaf. There was also a regional connection, which they were very much part of. Caribbean Association, the hearing impaired, and so on. St. Lucia have been making and playing its part, but until St. Lucians realize that we are given a lot, and if we do not use what we have, we would be asked question by the Creator. So I say, Happy International Day. There is a lot more to share, but as these activities go on, we will have opportunities to share a little more. Thank you.
The Ministry of Equity, Social Justice and Empowerment is pleased to be a part of today's observance, International Day of Persons with Disabilities 2024, guided by the theme, Amplifying the Leadership of Persons with Disabilities for an Inclusive and Sustainable Future. Honorable Joachim Henry sent his profound regards. He's currently out of Ireland attending to matters of equal importance. He has asked me to convey his gratitude to all of you who continue to work hard, and also a reminder of how persons who are not necessarily born with disabilities can actually attain one due to the callous ways that life can treat us at times. As the chief technocrat of this ministry and on behalf of our honorable minister, we affirm our commitment to creating an inclusive, equitable, and empowering society where every person, regardless of ability, can thrive and contribute meaningfully to our shared future. As we continue to observe and support persons with disabilities among us, we must allow their resilience, talents, and dedication to remind us of their impactful contributions as leaders, policy makers, and even serving as inspiration to many of us. At the ministry, our commitment remains steadfast to equity, respect, and inclusion, nothing less than a posture to advance the rights of persons with disabilities. We acknowledge and demonstrate this commitment through promotive, protective, and transformative actions. As a ministry, our promotive actions foster gender sensitivity and social inclusion. These areas challenge stereotypes, address systemic barriers, and create inclusive opportunities through media presentations, policies, and frameworks. Through protective initiatives, there's a deliberate attempt to protect the rights of persons with disabilities and to ensure their safety and well-being. The ministry provides a monthly cash transfer grant, a monthly child disability grant, disaster relief, and relevant social protection and support service programs. As a ministry that advocates for a transformative agenda, the Ministry of Equity seeks to foster an inclusive and equitable society where everyone feels safe and respected. We are engaged in transformative actions, including but not limited to shock response initiatives, disaster risk reduction, post-disaster recovery efforts, and crisis response. Key to those transformative actions also include data collection and analysis that will help inform our policies and program development. Today's observance marks a significant milestone for the Ministry of Equity as we graciously prepare to hand over the draft policy to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities, with Honorable Jeremiah Norbert and P.S. Elizabeth Bailey at the helm. This policy seeks to ensure that persons with disabilities are included and highlighted in our efforts. Further, it is to respond to the substantial gap that the government of St. Lucia humbly acknowledges. This draft policy covers the medical, social, and life cycle model Likewise, the rights-based approach and capability approaches as well. The eclectic involvement of these creates a loud chorus for the promotion of health and well-being for persons with disability, ensuring that no one is left behind. Moving forward, I'm convinced that the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities will continue the work that we started. We commit to cheering you on as you engage in the development of the plan, which entails the roadmap of a 5-year plan on the needed legislative and policy reform to protect and promote the rights of persons with disabilities. With this, I say, ladies and gentlemen all, I thank you and do enjoy the rest of the proceedings.
Today is a day when we, worldwide, we are honoring differently abled people. And I want you, everyone here, to give a round of applause to these courageous people who live their life every day. Recently, you've heard people in high places, people who strive for political power, call other people's names, call them all kinds of names, call them retarded, call them deg-deg, call them all kinds of names. These are things of the past. These are things of the past, and we have to condemn anyone who in the year 2024 still uses that kind of language to describe people whom they oppose. The society as a whole has to condemn it. Your theme today is amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities and an inclusive and sustainable future. And if you want to look for an example of leadership that was born with a disability, is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. I was born with a disability in my feet, and my parents sent me abroad to get it rectified. And I grew up like a normal person, still knowing that I had this challenge in my feet. Played sports, were involved in the cadets, went to university, studied, and with the help and the trust of the people of St. Lucia, I became the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. So if I can do it, anybody else can do it. And don't let anybody take you down. Let no one make you believe because you are differently able that you are inferior. You have the ability and the capability. And the government that I lead will find ways to make you inclusive members of the society. And from the next budget, all institutions that deal with differently able people will get an increase in a subvention from the government of St. Lucia. We have increased the subvention every year. And this year, I can assure you that the subvention is going to be increased. Further, when I appointed the Minister for People with Disabilities, again I was ridiculed. The government was ridiculed. But we do not allow noise and people who have absolutely no understanding of how a modern society should work, but who are only concerned about themselves and their selfishness. We never allow them to put us off track. And we appointed the minister because we knew that a number of people in this country needed support, and that support could be found in different ministries. So I found it necessary to consolidate that support in one ministry under the leadership of a young man who himself had suffered from a disability, not of his own cause, but by an accident. And look at where he is today. He's a minister in the government of St. Lucia. So during this budget, we will give the ministry a structure. We will give the ministry a structure. We will give it the necessary capacity, not all what it wants, but at least what it needs. We cannot give it all it wants in the first instance, but we'll give it what it needs. So the ministry, under the leadership of the minister and the staff, can play a meaningful role in improving the lives of people with disabilities in this country. So I want to tell you to have an enjoyable day. I want to tell you to let no one take you down. Let no one tell you you cannot make it. Let no one try to ridicule you for their own private purposes. Let no one tell you because of where or how you were born, you cannot make it to the top. Let no one tell you so. What we want to do is we want to create the environment for you. We want to give you the opportunity so each of you can reach the highest potential possible, each one of you. I want you to enjoy your day, and I want to thank all the people in the volunteer organizations who do this labor of love. These volunteers who work tirelessly to assist you, most of them do it for no pay. And those who get any level of salary, I'm sure they need a lot more for the work that they do. So I want to give them a round of applause to me this morning. So have an enjoyable day. You have a government that within its capabilities tries best to improve your life and improve your quality of life. Enjoy your day. I have to leave. In fact, I just came in from overseas, but I thought that I had to be here. I had to be here to express my wishes and to express my solidarity with people with disabilities when I see other people try to ridicule them for their own personal needs. I thank you very much and do have a good day.
Today we gather under the global theme, amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. This local celebration here carries an appropriate message. Disabilité, c'est affaire nous toutes. Disability is not a distant category. Anyone, through accident, aging, illness, violence, can join our community in an instant. So for those without disabilities, this is a call for you to unite with us. The policies, compassion, and advocacy we champion today may directly benefit you or your loved ones tomorrow. Since 1981, the NCPD has been dedicated to empowering this nation's community of persons with disabilities. Through advocacy and strong collaboration with government and partners, we implement programs that promote equality, independence, and economic empowerment. For the past 5 years, our annual mobility aid clinic has provided hundreds of St. Lucians with high-quality wheelchairs, walkers, and crutches. We construct modern prosthetic legs right here in St. Lucia at fractions of the cost overseas, thereby providing an affordable and accessible service for St. Lucians. At our aquaponics facility, our members grow lettuce organically. We supply Coconut Bay and local supermarkets in the south of the island. These projects show that people with disabilities, once given the right environment, the right support, enabling policies and legislation, that we can function in this society on an equal basis with others. After years of relentless advocacy by our council, our government ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2020. Together with the government, we must translate the principles of this convention into real-world improvements in education, employment, social protection, healthcare, including quality mental health services. We commend Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre for creating the Ministry of Persons with Disabilities, headed by the Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. This historic step signals an unwavering commitment to the disability advancement movement in our nation. We have made significant progress, yes, and there is a lot more work to be done. There was a recent CDB-funded study in 4 Caribbean territories, including St. Lucia. Ladies and gentlemen, it had a frightening conclusion. It stated that persons with disabilities continue to be treated as lesser human beings. It further warned that without immediate and targeted action, our community will continue to fall behind. Brothers, sisters, this cannot be our future. This is a call to action for advocacy groups, government, civil society, the private sector, Mutut, a call for all of us to ensure that people with disabilities are not just included, but prioritized in our national development agenda. We are happy that Prime Minister Pierre has heard our call. The Honorable Jeremiah Norbert is committed to realizing this vision. But if you're asking, why prioritize us? Some people have asked, why? Well, we answer simple. It's only fair. Persons with disabilities already face stigma, discrimination, barriers to education, healthcare, and employment. We endure higher rates of poverty and abuse. We bear unique costs such as paying for caregivers, buying mobility devices, medications, and paying for specialized transport. It is only fair that we get a respectable level of relief and priority. We continue to work closely with government, especially with our minister, towards impactful disability-specific laws and policies. These will promote equal opportunity for us to live, learn, work, move around, access services, and contribute to our economy and society without discrimination. For those who cannot work, we have many members who cannot work, who rely on a caregiver for their every basic need. We have lobbied for greater social protection, for an increase in the monthly public assistance payment to reflect the rising cost of living. And we are again thrilled that Prime Minister Pierre has heard this call and has pledged an increase. We also represent the caregivers, especially the mothers who dedicate most of their lives to taking care of family members with severe impairments. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, a mother working tirelessly day and night, lifting her child from bed to wheelchair, struggling emotionally, financially, yet receiving little support. These heroes deserve more than gratitude. They deserve tangible assistance. In this golden age of sports for our great nation, the NCPD promotes greater investment in our youth with disabilities. Paralympic and Special Olympics programs can provide them with an opportunity to shine, to access scholarships, and to uplift entire communities. Imagine a St. Lucia, where every child thrives in inclusive schools, where our members contribute to economic growth, a nation where everyone can access quality mental health care and support in a safe environment. A country where our athletes with disabilities proudly represent us on global stages. Picture leaders with disabilities and ambassadors shaping our policies, representing our nation. Through advocacy and partnership with the government, the NCPD is dedicated to making this vision a reality. Together, we all can build a St. Lucia where everyone, regardless of ability, achieves their fullest potential. Disabilité, c'est ça fait nous toutes. Happy International Day of Persons with Disabilities.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the Special Education family, which comprises of the officers of the Special Education Unit in the Department of Education, the 6 special schools around St. Lucia, where 72 teachers and teachers' aides serve approximately 377 children with special educational needs and disabilities. Included in that family also are the 90 special educational needs teachers to support students who are at risk for special educational needs. As we recognize the International Day of Persons with Disabilities in St. Lucia, we are excited about our local Creole theme, Disabilité, c'est affaire nous toutes. This theme calls attention to the concept of inclusion. So what is inclusion? The dictionary definition says it is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for persons who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized. Simply put, inclusion is the practice of creating environments where all individuals, regardless of their background, regardless of their identity or abilities, are valued, respected, and provided equal opportunities to participate, contribute, and thrive. I believe it is fair to say that inclusion has a touch of the divine. Scripture says in Galatians 3:28, there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for all are one in Christ Jesus. When Jesus taught us to pray, he identified God as Father of us all, confirming the brotherhood of all mankind. And even more, everybody knows John 3:16. That verse opens the arms of God as wide as possible by embracing whomsoever. Inclusion, the inclusive approach naturally lends itself to the concept of education for all, which is a concept that has taken root over the years. But over the years, all did not mean all. There was a time when it was education for maybe all slave owners, or education for all children of the aristocracy, etc. This has changed over time, and I am thankful that these changes continue. Today, education for all is a critical component of the international development discourse. It aligns with the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of the United Nations, which aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by the year 2030. Now, ladies and gentlemen, come with me in your imagination. Come, let's visit one of our special schools. Over there, on the floor mat, there's a little girl. She is nonverbal. She has limited mobility. She has intellectual disabilities. She was born with one finger on each hand, and her elbows do not extend. She will use diapers for the rest of her life because she cannot be potty trained. Doctors have identified her condition as Cornelia de Lange syndrome. Now here's the question. Should education for all apply to this little girl? Sadly, there are many people who are of the opinion that it is a waste of resources. But I am thankful that here in St. Lucia, we are experiencing a shift in mindset away from that sentiment. Parents are no longer hiding away children with disabilities like they used to. The number of special schools have increased, and they are located strategically around the island. More children today are accessing assessment services than ever before. The government has picked up and is running with the work of education and the education of children with exceptionalities started, as Mr. Averill indicated, by concerned citizens and friendly societies. This little girl that we saw in our imagination is a human being, and she is one of the sons and daughters of St. Lucia. She is equally deserving of a share of the budgetary allocations and resources of our nation. That, too, is inclusion. Now, one way of looking at inclusion is a further refinement of education for all. Here's a question that I have for all of us to consider. Think about this. What do you think? Is it better to have all high achievers in education, or is it better to have them segregated? What do you think? Is it better to have mixed ability classes and schools, or classes and schools segregated by learning abilities? Research on mixed ability classes in school has highlighted several benefits to both students with varying levels of abilities and their peers. And these benefits are similar to those of having students with disabilities learning together with non-disabled students. So, what are these benefits? Why would we encourage mixed ability classes? There are so many reasons. I'm just going to point out a few of them. The research says that students show improved performance in mixed ability classes. Studies show that students in mixed ability classes often perform better than those in ability grouped classes. This is attributed to exposure to a broader range of perspectives, collaborations, and higher expectations. It is also showing that there is improved social interaction. Students in mixed ability classes interact with a diverse group of peers, which helps them to develop social skills such as empathy, communication, and collaboration. And just one more. It shows an increased empathy and understanding among students. Interacting with peers who have different abilities can increase students' empathy and emotional intelligence. They learn to appreciate differences, understand various perspectives, and offer support to classmates who might be struggling. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, there is a scientific proof that mixed ability learning environments are better for all students. Knowing and understanding this, the Ministry of Education has embarked on a policy for inclusive education, a special educational needs policy. And I wonder, for us here in St. Lucia, if it is time that we start embracing the concept of mixed ability classes and schools. The reality we face today is that of an increasing number of identified cases of special needs. When the population of traditional schools are dropping, the number of students at special schools increases every year, to the extent that most of the special education centers in St. Lucia are now at maximum capacity. The Child Development and Guidance Center has publicly reported an explosion in the number of diagnosed cases of autism, just as an example. So, what do we do? What do we do about that? Should we cater to the increased number of children diagnosed with special educational needs by building more special schools to segregate students with those needs? Or should we tap into the proven benefits of taking an inclusive approach? I am excited about the work of the new Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities under the leadership of Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. Honorable Minister, the special education family is poised and ready to work with you in your personal and professional efforts at raising disability awareness. You, Mr. Minister, are helping to make the House of Parliament an inclusive space. We look forward to having the same said about all of our schools, all of our churches, all of our banks and supermarkets, and every living space in St. Lucia. Ladies and gentlemen, inclusion speaks volumes about a nation, reflecting its commitment to equality, justice, and human dignity. A nation that prioritizes inclusion demonstrates a willingness to embrace diversity and provide equitable opportunities for all its citizens, regardless of race, gender, religion, disability, or socioeconomic status. It signifies a society that values each individual's unique contribution and works to eliminate barriers, ensuring everyone has access to the same rights, the same resources, the same opportunities. Ultimately, inclusion is a hallmark of St. Lucia's strength, St. Lucia's unity, and St. Lucia's forward thinking, fostering social harmony and a more resilient, prosperous future for all. I have a dream that one day this will be so.
I'm a member of the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association, Executive Council members. Also the National Council for People with Disability and Council members as well. And also the President for the Derrisio Council. And well, when it comes to sports, I love my sports. I'm a blind cricket for the Windward Islands. I'm a player as well, and also the chairman for the blind cricket team. Today, I'm standing there to give you a little clip of a testimony on my life. When I lost my sight 18 years ago, I thought I couldn't do anything for myself. But with good people around me and meeting other members around me, they give me the courage and they told me, Usafei, pa give up, Usafei. So, when I first meet the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association and they invite me to a meet, and I meet other clients like me, I say I can do things. So latterly I joined the Council for People with Disability. And when I see people with disability doing things, but it must happen too. So today I want to encourage people. How to do things is not on a large scale, but you start small and you will end up being on a large scale. Because no matter what disability you have today, right there, you can do something. There is something you can do. And that's pray to God, He'll give you the strength and the courage to do it. So I start planting gardens on a small scale and I end up being a big farmer. Because I used to do it before when I had sight. So when I lost my sight, I remember there was a great man they call late Brother Buck told me, so I become a big farmer. And I'm proud to say I'm happy to be a farmer right now. Because right now I'm working in an aquaponics unit for the National Council for People with Disability, helping Mr. James to manage the units, and he's doing well. So I want to take that opportunity. We can do things for Christ who strengthens us, you know. And do not, if you know someone with a disability, do not leave them in the house. Bring them by the field, build them for work. Be a good Samaritan like Rosie. You know, bring them out, you know, bring them for a drive. Don't keep them back. There is a lot of things we people with disability can do. I even want to recognize some good members of cabinets around, especially Senator Gideon Ferdinand. He will always treat people with disability special. I don't know if as his wife works as a special assistant teacher at the Blusher School. But when Mr. Ferdinand greet people with disability, always special, you know. So we need more people like him in society. So I start on a small scale and I continue because God gave me the strength to be there today. So I can give you the testimony. We can do things, my brothers and sisters. Those who cannot walk can use their hands. Those who cannot see will use their hands, you know. We can do things. through Christ who strengthens us. So I leave you today with that word. We all can do something. And I'm a worker, I'm a family man. So thanks God for giving me the opportunity to share that with you today. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Sometimes you're weak and weary, feels like your heart is breaking. Nobody close enough to ease your mind. Seems like the night is falling, the darkness has you crawling. You wonder if you'll ever reach the light. But you've got to know that the Father's always there by your side. We will overcome heartache and sorrow. We will overcome all the pain in this world. We will rise above the cares of tomorrow. We will overcome. We all get disillusioned with all of life's confusion. Sometimes we simply have to walk by faith. The road may not be easy, but there is hope and healing. Remember, help is just a prayer away. And don't be afraid. He will give us all the strength that we need. We will overcome heartache and sorrow. We will overcome all the pain in this world. We will rise above the cares of tomorrow. We will overcome. When we struggle through the hard times, there's a peace that comes from the Lord. Just remember, He is faithful, so believe and trust in Him more. And don't be afraid. He will give us all the strength that we need. We will overcome heartache and sorrow. We will overcome all the pain in this world. We will rise above the cares of tomorrow. We will overcome. We will overcome heartache and sorrow. We will overcome all the pain in this world. We will rise above the cares of tomorrow. We will overcome. We will overcome. We will overcome.
I want to start off by saying a very happy International Day of Persons with Disability to all persons in St. Lucia, all persons who find themselves within the disability community. Today, we celebrate under the global theme, and you've heard it being mentioned several times, amplifying the leadership of persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future. And this is paired with our local theme, Disabilité, c'est affaire nous toutes. Disability is everyone's business. Disability is everyone's business. These themes remind us of the collective responsibility that we share to create a society where no one is left behind, and where inclusion, empowerment, and equality are not just ideals, but they are lived realities. Today also marks a milestone, a major milestone for the government and the people of St. Lucia. The occasion of International Day of Persons with Disability under the auspices of a government ministry. For the first time in our history, we have a Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and specific mention of persons with disabilities. Today places a critical bookmark in the policy-making pages and people-centered decisions of the government and the people. We are ushering in a new era of care, one of inclusion, one of positive change, for what I say is almost a forgotten sector of our society. The 2010 census indicated that at least 12% of St. Lucians live with some sort of disability. The Prime Minister this morning, in his brief remarks, mentioned that he too was born with a disability. And I'm sure that everyone here in my voice knows at least one or some individuals living with disability. And if you don't know anyone, you can just look to the person speaking now and you understand what it is to live with a disability. Do you think it is now when more persons, what do you think it is now when more persons, we see more persons becoming disabled, sometimes through violent acts, through accidents, and we've seen the numbers mushroom, we've seen the numbers pivot. But we have not seen a similar shift in the institutional and societal response to that reality. And it shows that there is a serious gap in 2024. There is a serious gap that exists in how we deal and care for persons with disability in St. Lucia. The situation the government felt, especially the Honorable Prime Minister, he felt that this situation was untenable. He felt that it was deeply flawed and bordered on inhumanity to our fellow brothers and sisters who already face struggles and frustrations of many different kinds and certainly do not deserve to have more stress heaped on their lives in their own country. And that is why I must tell you that the Prime Minister Philip Joseph Pierre, when assigning me this task, he did not do so and just walk away. And that is why he said, notwithstanding that he just came in from Morocco and he has a heavy schedule today, he ensured that he came here so that he can give a few remarks, especially to those persons who find themselves within the community of persons with disability. And I know that he has his ears tuned and he has his eyes fixed for the cries of the disabled. And he has been doing that for a long time. And this certainly was not a sector that the Prime Minister was willing to leave unattended, as he is indeed the Prime Minister for everybody. He is indeed a Prime Minister of inclusiveness. You can see just through his cabinet formation, gives everybody an opportunity. So I say, and I know the message will reach him, Commission Kaijuen Metli, thank you to the Honorable Prime Minister for your visionary leadership and for your deep commitment to ensuring that every St. Lucian, regardless of ability, is valued and empowered. I say thank you to my cabinet colleagues and to the staff of the Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention and Persons with Disabilities, and to all others present here, all others seated here today, and especially to the persons with disability present here today. I say thank you for your support. Disability covers a wide spectrum of conditions, and usually when we hear the word disability, we think of somebody who has a prosthetic limb or somebody who uses hearing aid. Not every disability is visible. And sometimes we may see individuals walking among us and we assume that all is well, and these persons may be facing serious challenges because of a disability that he or she may have, but you may not be seeing. And on that note, I can give you just a little story of my own, an encounter that I had in London. I walked to a washroom, a disability washroom, and when I was about to open the door, a gentleman came and he rushed and he said, no, sir, this is not for you. Although there was a sign on the door which said every disability is not visible. So because I was wearing a pair of long trousers and my limp is not as exaggerated as it used to be, he just assumed that I have no disability and I was using the washroom for persons with disability. And I say that to say that not every disability is visible and we need to be mindful of that fact. I want to say a big thank you to the Department of Home Affairs. When Prime Minister decided to make a ministry for persons with disability, I know that the PS, the DPS, and all the other staff from Department of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, Persons with Disability, were a bit puzzled as to how are we going to take on this challenge. And I said there is no challenge, it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity to change the landscape and the lives of persons with disability in St. Lucia. And I am happy with the way that they have chosen to embrace this opportunity and to treat the Ministry of Disability as an opportunity. And I know that with the commitment and dedication of the staff of the Ministry of Persons with Disability, that we are going to see tangible outputs, because I know Mr. James, when he gave his remarks, he asked that, yes, they want to see a difference, yes, they appreciate the help, but they also want to see an improvement as it relates to the tangible outputs for persons with disability. And we are committed as Minister. I give you the full assurance that with the help of the Ministry and with the support of the Prime Minister, I know that we have the full support of the Prime Minister, we are going to change the landscape in St. Lucia for persons with disability. The Ministry of Home Affairs, Crime Prevention, and Persons with Disabilities embarked on a very courageous journey in March. And once I reported in as the Minister, we have employed an approach that is strategic and avant-garde, bringing together in a very calculated manner the various arms of government that need to go in a new direction to meet the needs of human capital in a small island developing state like ours. Allow me to share with you quickly just a few highlights of this journey. As the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Bailey, indicated earlier, the Ministry has the responsibility for the establishment of a Disability Affairs Unit. And this responsibility, in simplified terms, means that we are now the official agency that deals with disability affairs, called the Persons with Disability Unit, or PWD Unit. And I think it is important that I say a few things on that note, because we already know the challenges that persons with disability face. Now imagine if you need something, for instance, let us say you're looking for duty-free as a person with disability. You have to go to BZA, to the NCPD, get a document, then go to the Ministry of Health. And we understand it made it even more challenging for persons with disability. And I think it is unfair for anybody living in St. Lucia with a disability to have to encounter these challenges. And having understood that, we have decided that we are going to put everything in one place. So we are going to have a one-stop shop for persons with disability. So no longer will you have to move from building to building, street to street, to get the services that you deserve. So we are establishing a specific unit to deal with matters of disability. And this unit is a work in progress. My team at the Ministry is working very hard. I can tell you that the DPS and the PS and the other members of the unit are working very hard to ensure that we get the new unit up and running as soon as possible. And we will make a public announcement as soon as we set up the unit, and to give you the location where the unit for persons with disability will be located. We have taken a significant step, the unprecedented step of bringing all our stakeholders together. And I know that Mr. Avril and Mr. Sejis, some of the speakers here who spoke before me, can tell you that we engaged them on October 23rd of this year. And we had a situational analysis. We spoke about what are some of the challenges that persons with disability face in St. Lucia. Several recommendations were made as to what can we do to make the lives of persons with disability better in this country. And when the true picture was laid, we saw a mixed bag of fear, we saw stigma, a lot of unmet needs. And it just shows you that the raw vulnerabilities confronting the disabled citizenry, it emerged in its true light. And ladies and gentlemen, children, I appeal to you and I say we we need to change things around, beginning with you and I. I appeal to the attitudes. I appeal to the attitudes that have nothing to do with government. There are certain things that, as a minister, I have certain control over. So I can push for legislation. I can push for disability-specific legislation. But what I cannot legislate against is persons' action and integrity. So no matter how much legislation we push, if there is not a shift in the culture for people to learn to respect and pay regard to the signs and the infrastructure that is put in place for persons with disability, then we're going to be spinning top in mud. So there is a need for us to embrace and for us to move, to change the culture, how we look at persons with disability, how we speak to persons with disability. As a country, we must improve. And I'm happy that now we have a ministry that is going to be challenged with promoting public awareness on this front. We convened the stakeholder engagement at the Union Orchard, and we discussed the implementation of policies and programs aimed at improving the lives of persons with disabilities. And what the meeting did, it brought together all agencies, government, NGOs, persons who have an interest, stakeholders who have an interest in improving the lives of persons with disability. And the conversations there was very potent. We were able to speak about the challenges faced, the current needs, and potential solutions. And the engagement was commendable. We focused on the rights. I thank Ms. Binta Ernest, who has also been an activist in that light. We spoke about the rights of persons with disability and the convention, and the current status of its ratification. And I know Mr. Mufila said in 2020 we were able to ratify the convention, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. But we would also agree that ratifying a convention is one step, but it is not enough. After we ratify the convention, we have to ensure that there is some level of implementation. So we don't just ratify just for us to say that St. Lucia has ratified the convention, but we need to now start the implementation. And that is the reason the Prime Minister gave me the responsibility to ensure that we do what is necessary to implement some of the recommendations coming from that convention. Some of the concerns that were brought to the fore on that day were the burden of unpaid care, and that was a highlight. And Mr. Dale Segis said earlier, just imagine a St. Lucia where a mother who has a child who has some sort of disability and who is unable to attend one of the special needs, the 9 special needs school, and this mother now is confined to a home because she has to provide care for that child. That is unpaid care. And she gets a minimal grant, which is barely enough to provide you with Pampers for the month, let alone food. And now you have to do it for 2 of you, and we have a situation where most times mothers are the ones who have to face the brunt of that burden. The statistics will show you that most times you have children with disability, the fathers leave the responsibility solely to the mothers. And when I speak about a culture shift, these are the points that I allude to, that fathers too must take on their responsibility. No child, nobody asked to be born with a disability. Some of us become disabled in the blink of an eye. I was on the 16th of February 2017. I was running around the place and I took a sweat in the morning and I played a little keep it up and I played football in the morning on the 16th of February 2021. And on the 17th, my life changed in an instant. And I've not been able to go back to play football and do some of the things that I used to enjoy. So no one here, seated here today, is guaranteed that for the rest of that line, that journey that you call life, that you are going to go through it without a disability. And I implore you to treat individuals with disability the same way that you would want to be treated if you found yourself in a position where you too have a disability. And sometimes we lost sight because we take certain things for granted. The fact that you can just run across to the supermarket, we take it for granted that we're going to always be able to do these things. The fact that you can run up and down a flight of stairs, the fact that you can see, the fact that you don't need anybody to escort you. We take these things for granted. These things can be gone in a blink of an eye. And if we do some deep introspection, ask yourself, how would I want to be treated if I were to have a disability? And when you answer that question, I now implore you to use that answer to define the way that you treat persons within our society with disabilities. Another key takeaway was the need for continued education and vocational training opportunities for persons with disabilities, ensuring that they are supported even after completing traditional schooling. And this would help address the gap in services for those who are beyond regular school age but still require educational support. And on that note, I want to say to Mr. Dale Segis and his team from the Ministry of Education, job well done. What they do, they don't do it because of the remuneration involved. They do it because of the love for persons with disability. There is no amount of money, and I heard you speak passionately this morning, there is no amount of money that we can pay you as a government for the work, for the passion, the commitment, and the dedication that you put in your job. And we are working as a government, I'll be working closely with the Ministry of Education to ensure that we create schools that are more inclusive and more accessible. I think it is unfair, and it speaks to, at the time, what the mindset was when we built most of our primary and secondary schools. And when we look at just the general concept of primary and secondary schools, 90% of our schools in St. Lucia, at one point or another, you have to go up a flight of stairs when you change class. So you may start grade K on the bottom floor. Eventually, when you get to grade 3 or 4, you may have to climb a flight of stairs. And little or no consideration was given at the time when the schools were being built to those persons, those children who may have physical impairments, who may not be able to go up, or mobility issues that may prevent them or hinder them from going up a flight of stairs. We see it here, and I stand and I say this without fear or favor, that I am going to advocate to ensure that the building code, that the work that was done on the building code does not become shelved, but we actually enact it. And within our term of government, I'm going to push with every bit fiber inside of me to ensure that we enact it. It is unfair to anybody in St. Lucia who wants to access a public good or public service to encounter some of the barriers that we see them encounter. And I sit here and I see a gentleman, I think the PRO of the NCPD, and I remember his video which went viral about his difficulty in accessing the passport office. And these are some of the things that have been brought to our attention. And as a ministry, and I've already spoken to Prime Minister who have agreed that we are going to make the necessary changes and adjustments to ensure that all of these agencies, government, and otherwise that provide public goods and services, to ensure that they are accessible to all persons within this country. For too long, for decades, our persons have suffered, not just from the culture, but from the lack of infrastructure to provide accessibility in this country. And we are going to see to it as a ministry that we do everything that we can, legislative and otherwise, to ensure that St. Lucia becomes a lot more accessible for all St. Lucians. Persons who have visual impairments, persons who have mobility issues, other physical impairments, you too should be able to equally access the passport office. You too should be able to access NIC. You too should be able to access MASI and any other place in St. Lucia that is open to the public. And I give you the assurance that as minister with the responsibility for persons with disability, that I will do everything within my power, with the backing of the Prime Minister, to create a more enabling and inclusive environment for our people in St. Lucia. St. Lucia is becoming, tourism has become the economic driver in this country. But we have a situation where one of our most pristine sites, the Sulphur Spring, most people here today, not those seated as invited guests, but those who are in attendance as persons with disability, some of them may have never been to the Sulphur Spring. Some of them may refuse to go because they do not want to be indignified and they do not want someone to carry them down a flight of stairs. And it is unfair. And our conversations we started conversations very early with the Ministry of Tourism, and also we've already spoken to the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation to ensure that there is wheelchair and ramp access to the Sulphur Springs, so that everybody in St. Lucia, everyone, should be able to access the Sulphur Springs. It cannot be that this is ours and we have people living here who are unable to access it because of issues of accessibility. And that is the ethos of the Ministry or Department of Persons with Disability. So we are going to do everything. I am committed, I am dedicated, and I'm creating an environment not for you, but for us. So when I was told, I complained about the situation one time at the passport office. I was told, but minister, you can just get somebody to come and take your passport and do it for you. I say, no, tomorrow I will not be the minister. And what happens when I'm not the minister and I cannot call somebody? What happens to those individuals who cannot call somebody to come and do their passports for them? Should they be disadvantaged? So the environment we're trying to create, and I say we, because it's an environment for all of us here, including myself. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister has trusted me in leading this ministry. He has trusted me in giving guidance and policy direction to the PS and the DPS and the other members of staff at the ministry to help create a much better and more inclusive St. Lucia. Now, our theme also has a Creole part to it. So I think I should say a few words in Creole before I close. Cette ici c'est une belle place. Cette ici c'est une place, moun ka paye gros l'argent pour venir. Cette ici c'est une place tout le monde veut venir marier. Cette ici c'est une place qui ni l'amour. Et puis moun qui ni disabilité cette ici pas ça souffert. Et bien pas supposé souffert parce que yo a des situations que yo ka servi en wheelchair. Nous passons une place qui belle qu'on souffouille. Et puis nous avons un Sulphur Spring là. Et puis nous avons moun cette ici parce que yo dit dans wheelchair. Et puis parce que yo pas ça bien ouais. Et parce que yo ni un problème, yo ni une disabilité, yo pas ça aller là. Et puis nous as un gouvernement et puis moi as ministre pour affaires disabilité cette ici, ouais nécessaire that nous adresser problème ça là. Et puis nous va commencer à adresser. Nous va commencer à mettre bagaille en place pour mettre pour lui that Sulphur Spring là tout gens cette lycée. Même si ça marche, même si pas ça marche, même si avec n'importe disabilité ou péni ou quand ça aller de souffle souffouer pour aller prendre bien souffle tout le monde. Et puis nous pas voulons monde qui porter monde descendre pièce marche. Nous voulons mettre bagaille en weg, so c'est monde qui ni wheelchair ça pour wheelchair yo ça fait bagaille monde qui ni disabilité pas qu'à demander pour les charités. Yo ça fait bagaille pour quoi yo ça fait bagaille pour aider famille yo et puis as un gouvernement ça nous ni pour faire c'est pour faire environnement ko yo ça fait bagaille pour ko yo. Ko yo ça travail puis pour que famille yo. Nous ni pour faire environnement commun qui brise un passeport ça aller même si yo a sur wheelchair puis yo ça fait transaction ça là pas ko yo. Nous pas voulons moun sorti parce que yo en disabilité that yo pour être leader caillou. Et puis monsieur Twixi dit bon matin. Il était un femme. Et puis un jour quand il a 18 l'année qui passait, il tournait avec et il pas kawé encore. Mais ça pas de bout li. Il continue faire travail et puis même le remercier tout le monde qui a aidé moun qui ni disabilité. What you do for persons with disability is a labor of love. You do it not because of money. So those persons who we see assisting, those family members who day in and day out, show that outpour of love. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do for persons with disability. And I ask that others take a page from your book and that we can see this reflected throughout the entire society. We can see this reflected throughout the entire country. Nous avons un problème que les gens qui ont une disabilité passent à monter transport. Nous pas de transport, et bien nous pas de minibus spécifique pour les gens qui ont une disabilité. Et puis là, aller n'importe pays, quitter cette lycée ou aller Babat, ou aller Canada, ou quand il y a les bus de tout le monde qui a une disabilité, ça monte bus là. Et puis là, on a différents quiltés. Ici, on a un quilté qu'on délai, où ça avait plaisir pour assis bon la porte là. Et puis, quand il y a trois personnes assis là, et puis les gens qui ont une disabilité, qui ont double la machine. Et puis, ces gens pas jamais dit, ok, mais quand il y a ça là, assis là, parce que moi, ça a une disabilité. And that is some of the issues that we face. And that is why I said we have to create a paradigm shift, and it starts now. I thank all the stakeholders involved, Ministry of Equity, for the work that you have done to try to transform and change the lives of persons with disability. The NCPD, the Blind Welfare Association, or every other association that have been involved in transforming the lives of persons with disability. Mr. Avril, your work has not gone unnoticed, and I know that today you are happy that we have a ministry dedicated to dealing with matters of disability. And that is what, if you remain committed to a cause, that is the fruits that you are going to reap from your labor. And I'm happy that today you are here to witness firsthand a ministry of persons with disability. And we are not just going to be a ministry that's going to provide lip service, but we're going to be a ministry that is going to implement and going to push the cause of persons with disability. Ladies and gentlemen, disability says affaire nous toutes. Disability is everyone's business. It is not a challenge for some. It is a responsibility for all. Imagine a St. Lucia where every child with a disability is supported to achieve their dreams, is supported to reach their full potential. Imagine a workplace that celebrates diversity. Imagine public spaces that welcome everyone. And today we're in a public space and we see some of the challenges we have just to navigate the terrain of one of the most public spaces that we have in St. Lucia. And moving forward, we need to cure this malady. We need to cure this problem of accessibility. Imagine a nation where inclusion is not just a promise. Rather, inclusion is a reality. This vision, ladies and gentlemen, this vision is not beyond our reach. Together, with determination and compassion, we can make it happen. And we have already started making it happen. Let us rise to this challenge, united by our shared humanity and our commitment to building a brighter and more inclusive future for all. I say thank you, and may we all continue to strive for St. Lucia, where no one, absolutely no one, is left behind. And I used a quote yesterday at the press briefing, and I want to close with it today. The only disability that exists is one of the mind. So, the disability, the only disability that I would accept as a disability, as the minister, is the inability of so-called persons with all their ability to recognize the ability of those persons with disability. Listen to it again. The only disability is the inability of those persons who believe that they have their full ability. Is their inability to see the ability of those of us here. This is the only disability. So, happy International Day of Persons with Disability to everybody in St. Lucia who has a disability. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.